What's going on, family? Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Let's take a short ride through the history of the boxing game. Now, we've all been told that boxing began 1681, and I've always stated that boxing has been around much longer than that. When you look at the game of pugilism, it tells its own personal story. Boxing has its own meaning. There's a reason why it exists. When two men face one another, they are introducing their personalities, their culture, tribalism, their spirituality to one another. It is as natural as leaves falling off of a tree. It is a communication that all species of life understand. Now, 1828, the Fair Play Club, located in England. 1838, London prize ring rules, as revived, 30 count, created by a protege of James Figs, was Jack Blackburn. Amphitheatre Theatre on Tottenham Court Road in 1743. 1853, the London prize ring rules, as revised. No more kicking, biting, scratching, or eye gouging. April 17th, 1860, the first international boxing bout between heavyweights, John C. Heenan of America, drew with England's Tom Sawyer. Referee declares a draw. The crowd destroys the ring. In 1865, Marquis of Queensberry rules, governing contest of endurance. In 1867, originally written for an amateur bout, it was all mandated for gloves to be worn. No more wooden decks and roped off squares. Fighter second and bottle holders helped erect with corner. The fighter gets help. Brand new rule, brand new era. As James Figs ends his career as a swordsman, as well as fisticuffs, he would retire undefeated. There's some speculation of one loss. James Figs was the father of boxing in the eyes of England. But you had more fighters back in history that have been nameless. 1804, first American would come over from the banks of America to England. He would be America's first fighter. His name is Bill Richmond. He would take on a fighter named Tom Cribb. Many thought he won. 1810, he would have a protege, second fighter of America, would then come over after the papers of slavery would be demolished. He would take on Tom Cribb in 33 rounds. That's where unfairness to the black fighter would begin. His name was Tom Molyneux. And Tom Molyneux was more of an MMA fighter. Didn't have the boxing skills at that time. And Bill Richmond would be his second. And Tom Cribb would be knocked out by Tom Molyneux. The corner of Tom Cribb would rush the ring in such fashion that Tom Molyneux would fall down and all 5 metacarpals on his left hand would be crushed as men would step in and stomp Tom Molyneux. This would allow Tom Cribb ample amount of time to recover. Tom Cribb would eventually win the contest. You see, boxing has its wicked stories on a historical level. But it's not too much different than its current state. After all, you're dealing with 2 men at his richest point and lowest constitution will do anything and everything to win. If you study the game, at its highest point, you will find a thin line between reality and what's not true. Future middleweight champion Nonpareil Jack Dempsey was in the front line of the division until he outgrew the division. So in 1885, Jack McAuliffe had claimed and then held the title until retirement. In 1896, he would be undefeated. 1882, Paddy Ryan was knocked out by John O'Sullivan. At the Mississippi City 9 rounds, referee was Alex Brewster and Jack Hardy. July 8th, 1889, John O'Sullivan would defeat Jake Kilrain 75 rounds in Richmond, Mississippi. This was the last bare knuckle bout as a championship division. John O'Sullivan weighed 198 pounds and Jake Kilrain weighed 195 pounds. Sullivan was awarded the victory. John Fitzpatrick was the referee. And both John O'Sullivan and Jake Kilrain will crawl back to their corners. The 55th round, 68th round, 71st round. And the lanterns had to be turned on because it was pitch black outside at that point. John O'Sullivan's metacarpals would be seen. All white meat as the skin was worn off. Jake Kilrain was unrecognizable John O'Sullivan. Face looked like a bowling ball. Both men kept continuing the fight until the 75th round, 3 hours and a half to complete. That's when boxing was on a whole different level. In 1856, Charlie Lynch was America's champion. When he went to England, where he won and lost several battles, he claimed the bantamweight title when he defeated Simon Finkley in 43 rounds. Tommy Spider, the Harlem Spider. The championship bout was staged. April 13th, 1867, the first American boxer to become recognized as middleweight champion was Tom Chandler. He defeated Dooney Harris in a bare-knuckle match. It took place 23 rounds to complete. San Francisco, $5,000 was a side bet. The first lightweight champion was Abe Hickman, who reigned extended from 1868 to 1872. A tournament was then created. Then 4 men were left standing: Johnny Clark, Billy Edwards, Arthur Chambers, who became the champion. Arthur Chambers would retire. January 4th, 1868. Tom Down defeated Ned Kedley. Fight took place in Kansas. 7 seconds. The bout was over. 1879, future middleweight champion, Nonpareil Jack Dempsey, was in the front line of the division. He would eventually outgrow that division. And a whole host of middleweights would follow. In 1882, the middleweight championship was vacated until 1884. A Canadian middleweight challenger wanted to smoke with any middleweight in the world. He said, "I'll fight you, winner take all. Those who dare to step up to the plate." His name was George Fulljames. He was from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. 1878, Morris Grant, New York, lost the Colored Heavyweight Championship tournament. 1880, Amateur Athletic Association of England would be formed. 1881, the Colored Heavyweight Championship will continue with Charles Hadley. He was a professor, very intelligent, and very well-enthused young man. He would soon open up his own school. 1876, Charles C. Smith had claimed the Colored Heavyweight Championship division. February 23rd, 1883, Old Chocolate, George Godfrey, would now take claim of the Colored Heavyweight Championship title. 1883, New Orleans Olympic Club would be formed. Now, a lot of these tournaments went on without the black fighter. You had men such as Black Pearl Harris, 1887. And then was Harris Martin. He declared himself the world colored middleweight champion because he could never get a fight, an opportunity under the white establishment. 1891, Ed Bentley, November 30th, would take on Charlie Turner. He would claim the color title. because there were no further opportunities for black fighters during that time. And we'll start off with the Battle Royale. It was the plantation owner's way of entertaining himself, as you had 8 to 10 young black boys turn against one another through the entertainment of the establishment. Some were blindfolded. Some wore rags around their fist. Some were glued with glass. They would swing away till the last man or boy was standing. Our man would be beaten to death to protect what was his. Land, cattle, their own daughters. And it wasn't that one another were taking the property. It would be quote unquote property owners, overseers, plantation owners that would take one man in his own tribe and turn him against his other man in his own tribe for the dollar of the plantation owner. This was how men would turn against one another in our own community. To this day, that Willie Lynch theory exists. It would become propaganda. The minds would be manipulated. He said he is stronger than you. His horse is better than yours. His wife is prettier than your wife. Both men would then throw punches at one another, and the betting would begin. And the men throwing punches would not receive a dime. No. The establishment, the plantation owners, those who were slave masters, would profit from the manipulation of that theory. This would happen all throughout the South, Midwest, across the world. Boxing is the longest reigning sport. Why? Mano y mano. It's the only way to solve mental problems on a physical level. You see, you envision what you see based on the way you feel. And that stigma must be inserted in you. It's a facade. And through that rage, through that misunderstanding of reality, a sport was formed. And over the years, it would be designed more technical, but the corruption would continue. That, my friend, would never change. You put the good Indian against the bad Indian, the short Indian against the tall Indian. This is how you would form tribes and gangs and many other separation tactics. Why? Because money has always been the center of attention. The key in manipulation is to get a man to look at a man less than what he already is. Not to look at him as if he were what he could be, because then you'll discover that he can become what he should be. The idea of one not seeking out the truth in one boggles the mind. But when you frustrate, cause self-doubt,